the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Figured it would be a good day to film a video since we finally do have some nice weight behind the 5th gen here. Alright, so for those of you who don't know, this is my 2021 Ram 2500. It's equipped with a 6.7 liter standard output turbocharged Cummins engine and the dreaded 68 RFE transmission. Truck is 4-wheel drive. She's a crew cab standard bed. Behind it today, we have a 40-foot East Texas trailers, well, gooseneck deck over trailer, weighs in at 8,170 pounds. Also on the deck right now today, we have two Corn Pro 16-foot livestock trailers that weigh 3,120 a piece. So right now here behind the truck, we have 14,410 pounds of total cargo. Let's go. I want to go over my 5 top towing modifications that I did to this truck that just kind of help with towing, right? The funny thing is, but it's also not that funny, is I actually already filmed this video once. However, I did it as a mistake. I did it in the state of Indiana, which, honest to God, Route 70 in Indiana, it's basically a blue trail at Hatfield-McCoy. I have been on green trails at Hatfield that are smoother than the road that I just drove on in Indiana. I will show you a few clips of that right here. You know, unloaded, this truck would typically run around like 168 degrees. Oh boy, watch out. Oh, tune and delete. And I think it pulls better with the tune and delete. One of the big things, that helps because it helps with cost, and then it also helps with, man, I'm telling you, I picked the wrong state to film this video in. Golly. The point, I just wanted to come on here real quick and tell you the 5 mods that I'm happy that I went with on this truck just for towing. Oh my God, this truck's honest to God about to do wheelies. Needless to say, and probably the first time I've ever said it, is I'm actually excited to be in Ohio right now. So that is that. So the 5 truck mods that I did to this truck that kind of help with towing, this is in no particular order in my opinion, of course. Number 1, airbags. You need to get yourself a set of airbags if you tow a lot, if you tow heavy, of course, especially if you own a Ram. Because for some reason, Ram still puts coil springs on their 3/4 ton diesel trucks. I know why they do it. They do it for ride comfort when you're unloaded, because GM and Ford still both have leaf spring, which is a much rougher ride when the truck is empty. However, they handle the weight a little bit better when you are towing. The Rams do not. So it's a mod that I wish I would have done sooner than I did do it. I now have roughly a little over 20,000 towing miles on this truck. I probably towed the first, I don't know, probably towed the first 15,000 miles without airbags, and I'm so upset that I didn't get them sooner, because now that I have them, I don't know what I would do without them at that point. So the airbags that I'm running currently are the Airlift Load Lifter 5000 series. I do not have an onboard compressor. Maybe one day we'll get one, but for the time being, I just fill them up with a little Craftsman portable air compressor with like a little battery in it. It works perfectly fine. For the load that I have behind the truck right now, I have 90 pounds of air in each bag, and honestly, it feels very good. So if you've never towed with bags, basically all it does, it takes the squat out. So as soon as you start, loading up your truck, it starts to squat down further, right? But also it takes out a lot of that big bouncing around and stuff like that. It basically just helps handle that weight, trailer tongue weight, if you will, unless you're in the state of Indiana, because that was absolutely awful and there was nothing you can do about it. I even watched semi-trucks sitting there bouncing up and down, and I was genuinely pretty upset here when I was in the state of Indiana. It was awful. But either way, airbags are going to be my number 1 mod. I wouldn't want to tow without them at this point. They help your load feel a lot more firm in there. I'm ripping 70 mile per hour right now with 14.4 behind the truck, and it feels really smooth, right? Without airbags, it'd kind of be bouncing around and wandering around a little bit. So the airbags are definitely a must in my opinion. Number 2, this is kind of 2 objects in one. However, I'm going to loop it into one. So it's going to be my S&B cold air intake and my Banks Monster Ram intake horn and grid heater delete kit. I know cold air intakes really don't do much for trucks. However, I put that on when this truck had maybe 2,000 miles on it, and maybe it's placebo, but I swear that I got a little bit better throttle response out of the truck itself. And I know for sure you were able to hear the turbo noise a little bit more and the engine brake a little bit more for, you know, my fellow guys that like the noises. But otherwise, performance-wise, I don't really think it helped the truck at all towing. But I just did the Banks Monster Ram intake horn, and oh my gosh, I do wish I did this sooner as well, because a friend of mine helped me put it on. Well, I guess I should probably say a friend of mine basically put mine on while I watched and video recorded. And honestly, this truck is a different truck with that. Boost builds so much quicker. You could actually pull a lot better. So the hill that I just actually pulled 20 seconds ago, I was in 6th gear. If I didn't have this intake on, like this intake horn, the truck would have lugged so low in 6th gear, you would have had to downshift to 5th. However, like, even with 14,000 pounds behind this truck, like, the boost is just there. It's immediate and it holds very, very strong, which is very nice. Obviously, throttle response 100% got better with the intake horn, what I'm trying to get at right here. Sorry about, it's been a long day so far, and I still got like another 8 hours to go. So actually, I got about 8 hours in already, and I got about 8 hours to go. So sorry, I might be slurring my words a little bit. But throttle response for sure got better. The boost is there. You can hold hills very nice. The truck just, it feels a lot more sturdy, a lot more strong, if you will. So that would be my number 2, the cooled air intake and the Banks Monster Ram intake horn. Number 3, as noted, this truck has the dreaded 68 RFE. These things are known to fail and prone to fail. However, I did a RevMax billet valve body with a deep pan and a thermal bypass. So the thermal bypass is nice and easy. It keeps the transmission nice and cool. You know, basically this truck used to run stock at 168 degrees in the transmission at all times. 168, that's just what it was. If you were towing, like if I had to load like this, towing with the stock trans and everything like that, stock trans parts, you know, it'd probably get into 170s, 172, 174, 176. And if you know anything about transmissions, heat is what kills them. The heat gets in and destroys all the clutch packs and delaminates them, and that's kind of what goes wrong with these transmissions. However, see, here's a thing, real quick. I'm pulling 75 mile per hour upgrade, 6th gear, and boost is there. I'm rocking 18 pounds of boost. It is there. Without the Monster Ram, like I'd 100% be lugging real low, 1500 RPM, have to downshift into 5th. But like this truck drives so much nicer with that. Sorry about that. Getting back to the RevMax and all that. So with the thermal bypass, my transmission is at 136 degrees. Very respectable. My entire drive out here yesterday, which I was empty with, 120 degrees is what my trans runs. So the transmission runs way cooler now, which is extremely nice to have. The deep pan just allows you to have, I think it's 4 more quarts of fluid, which guess what? Same thing. It helps keep, you know, cool fluid in the trans. The valve body is just also kind of common failure point of the 68 RFE transmissions. So something from my understanding is they can only handle so much line pressure, and you know, when that line pressure keeps getting too high, the internals, like the walls of the stock valve body, just basically break. The seals break and they leak, if you will, right? So traditionally, when you tune and delete a truck and transmission, like with a transmission tuning, you do turn that line pressure up. So having a tuned and deleted truck with a stock valve body with, you know, turned up line pressure, the valve body just becomes a weak spot. So the billet valve body from RevMax kind of eliminates that, because it can handle much more. I forget what the spec is, I did it like 3 years ago now, but it can handle way more line pressure, and there should be no issues of, you know, that being a fail point of the transmission. So this is a much more sturdy valve body, but the nicest thing is, man, does this truck shift very firm, very quick with that valve body. This truck very stock. The transmission's kind of sloppy, if you will. I wouldn't say it searches for gears, but like when it shifts in between gears, it's kind of slow. It kind of almost feels like it goes into neutral for a second, then kicks into gear. Neutral for a second, kicks into gear. With this valve body, it literally smacks into gears. I'm going second, third, fourth, fifth, and it's very quick, it's very firm, it feels very good when you have weight behind the truck. So the valve body is a A+ in my book. Number 4 is going to be these tow mirrors, man. If you don't know, I have 23 plus style towing mirrors on this truck, which I'm extremely happy about. No, Ram does not make them, Boost Auto Parts does. One of my biggest pet peeves about the Ram series, the Ram trucks, the Cummins if you will, are the floppy moose mirrors. And you know, obviously if you pull the mirrors out and look like a dumb moose, they do work, except for you look awful. And with the mirrors down in standard and normal position, you can't see anything. You can't see your trailers, you can't see the curbs, you know, that you might hit with your trailers. You can't see around any blind spots. You can't see past your trailer to see the cars behind you, the merge lanes. The OEM mirrors on these trucks are absolutely awful. Ever since the 23 style trucks came out with the new mirrors, I wanted a set. However, Ram doesn't make them because the base is different, the way they bolt onto the door. So Boost Auto Parts finally did. So I have 23 style tow mirrors on my 2021 Ram, which I love because these are a little bit more designed just like the Ford and the GM mirrors are. The big mirror up top and your nice long like blind spot mirror at the bottom, like the curved one. I love it. So these mirrors, in my opinion, are A+ because I can actually see what's going on behind me while towing. And number 5, this one's an optional one because a lot of people cannot do this, nor can a lot of people afford to do this. It's a tune and delete, baby. So obviously this truck runs so much better tuned and deleted. It obviously pulls a lot better. The engine brake is super sexy sounding, but the engine brake is also a lot harder. The engine brake hits really hard. Ever since I tuned this truck, like it does very, very well. It also pulls a lot better, of course, as well, because I have horsepower tunes. If you don't know, I have a switch on the fly, so I have 5 tunes. I have 5 levels of tunes. I have a 30, 60, 90, 150, and a 200 horsepower tune. So that's nice. Currently, and honestly, I pretty much daily drive in my 90 horsepower tune. A lot of guys I know that have these trucks that just get single tunes normally do like a 100 horsepower tune, and it seems to be very safe for these trucks, a very safe power level. So I daily mine at 90 horsepower, which is nice. You know, you can definitely feel it. If I go all the way down to my 30 and do like a highway pull versus doing on a 90, you know, horsepower tune, you could definitely feel the difference. Not only does tuning and deleting, you know, do that, however, since you don't have to worry about depth fluid anymore, you save yourself a lot of money, and you save yourself from all the potential emissions failures that these trucks are prone to have. So I deleted this truck at 8,000 miles. I've only had 2 tanks of depth fluid through this entire system, which I'm proud to say. And that just limits the, you know, it helps limit the amount of issues that these trucks could have. Like I said, the emissions tends to be the big issue on these trucks. And that's just one thing I don't have to worry about anymore. I don't have to stop and buy depth fluid constantly. I honestly don't know how much it costs, but I assume it's probably at least $20 a carton, right? And yeah, I don't know. That's I think I actually got this stuff streamlined out a little bit better now that I'm not in Indiana. So if you have any comments or questions to anything that I just talked about, feel free to drop a comment below. I'll be happy to answer them. Please like this video if you watch this whole thing. Show the support, subscribe if you can. That is how I continue to do these types of videos. So either way, I got about another 400 miles to truck with this weight behind me. So I just wanted to come on here real quick and kind of go over the 5 mods that I enjoy, you know, on this truck since, you know, while towing. And we'll kind of, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm sorry, I'm blanking out. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.